Welcome to Conversations. I'm Barbara Kanellopoulos, and our program invites you to listen in while I talk to people in Falmouth who are your friends and neighbors about their lives, their work, and the things that they care about. It's with great pleasure today that I'm with Diane Pratt, who is Executive Director of the Cape Cod Center for Women. Hi, Diane. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Barbara. Thank you so much for inviting me in.
Tell us something about the Cape Cod Center for Women.
Well, the Cape Cod Center for Women is the only emergency confidential domestic violence shelter on Cape Cod and the islands. We operate a safe house here in Barnstable County. We're able to house 4 families at a time, and we also have an administrative office here in downtown Falmouth.
Domestic violence has become quite a concern, well publicized because we hear so much about it. Now, what is the population that is affected by this?
Actually, every population is affected by domestic violence. It can be young girls still in school, it can be people who are married, it can be people of every socioeconomic class. Domestic violence can happen to anybody.
So often people think that it's something that having to do with just poverty, but I see that it is widespread. So when a person, a woman or a man, is in a relationship, what are some of the signs that maybe that relationship is becoming dangerous?
Well, I think there are many signs. Some of them are very subtle, and especially I would say with younger people, you know, when you first enter into a relationship and your partner is very attentive and he wants to, you know, call you all the time and text you all the time and know where you are and who you're talking to, then also it starts to become almost a form of control and isolation, and that I think is something that people should kind of look out for.
I see. So that the central idea then that is that domestic violence is an issue of control.
It is. Domestic violence is all about power and control.
I understand that there is a diagram for that, the Duluth model. I wonder if we can put that on the screen so that you can talk about that more specifically. Here it is, the Duluth model of power and control. Perhaps you can fill us in on some of the details.
Absolutely. I think, you know, people always think of domestic violence as being physical. Well, it's not physical, not always. Many times it does become physical, but it can start out with using coercion and threats, trying to get someone to do something that they really don't want to do, but more or less forcing them into it. Another part is using intimidation tactics, telling like a mom that if they don't do something, you'll take their children away, or you'll do something that will harm them. Using emotional abuse is what we see mostly. It's taking away their self-esteem and any self-respect, and it's telling them that they're stupid and that they can't do anything. And many times when the women come to us, they believe this, and you know, they have not only been beaten physically, but they've been beaten emotionally, and we find that that is one of the toughest parts of bringing them back to being a whole person. It's the emotional abuse. Isolation is another huge part where the batterer likes to have total control, so he will alienate her from her family and her friends. And like I was saying, you know, in the beginning, the woman might be flattered thinking, oh, he loves me so much, he wants me all to himself, when in fact it is a form of mind control. They also, a lot of times will use the children, you know, that they'll contact DCF and have the children taken away, or they'll tell the children that, you know, mommy's a bad person or something. So they try to use the children, which is very unfair. Because when the children grow up in domestic violence, many times that perpetuates over generations, so that we have to end the cycle of violence, and I think we have to end it with the children so that they stop seeing the violence continue. They also use economic abuse. Many of the women that come to us have never written a check. They don't know how to balance a checkbook. They don't know how to go to the grocery store and buy food to make for their families, because they have had absolutely no control over their own lives.
Well, that's very interesting, because so often we think about domestic violence as really just being a woman is being battered. That's very interesting, and it's quite complex. Well, I know that many people will be thinking, why does a woman stay? Why didn't she leave? Well, what is your answer to that?
Well, I think part of what we don't look at all the time, and I think one of the key things you have to remember is it wasn't always like that. Most relationships start out and, you know, they're wonderful and they're in love. So, you know, the woman or whoever is being abused in the relationship, she may think, well, you know, it happened once, it will never happen again. And usually after the first time, you know, the batterer will bring home flowers or chocolates or something and apologize. And I think you also have to remember that many times there's going to be drugs or alcohol involved. Oh, yeah. There's also poverty involved. You know, there are many, many triggers that can cause domestic violence. But at the same time, when we're looking at the emotional well-being and the physical well-being, you have to also understand that in many times their hearts have been broken too.
But there is help. There is help. And is there an opportune time for someone to leave, a sort of window of opportunity that is best?
Well, that's a hard answer, because you never know if it's the first and only time or the last time. A lot of times it can just come out of the blue, and you know, someone can just snap and all of a sudden we have a homicide on our hands. You just never know. But I always say to the people that I talk to, they say, how do I know if I'm in a domestic violence relationship? And I say, if you question that you are, chances are that you are, so get help.
Right. Then, so there are shelters, the Cape Cod shelter. I know that you have a website that people can check out. This would be a first step for somebody who wants to leave?
Well, we do offer safety planning. As I said, we can only house 4 families at a time, and every time we do have an opening in our shelter, it's filled again within just a matter of moments. Every day in Massachusetts, there are 250 women seeking emergency shelter from domestic violence.
And so on Cape Cod, we have just one.
You have just one, just us.
I see.
Yes.
Now, what happens when a woman has children?
Well, we take families. We take most of the people that come to stay with us have children, and we work with them from a holistic point of view, so that we help them in every way possible, emotionally, physically. We help them to get back on their feet financially. If they need job opportunities, we help them with career planning. If they need to get a GED, we help them with that. We help them with just about everything we can. And with the children, school-age children, we get enrolled in schools. We try to do as many fun things as we can so that the children have really a very happy childhood. You know, we're just coming out of the holidays, and it was totally amazing to me how generous people in this area are to the families. Every day there were people donating items and bringing things in for the families, and we worked with Falmouth High School, and we had the Honor Society children come over and decorate the Christmas tree. And right now the Falmouth Congregational Church is collecting things for Easter baskets. So So we try to really get the children involved. And right now we are looking at a grant where we would actually be able to have a licensed clinical social worker work with the children that are victims of domestic violence.
That's excellent, and I can see that there's a lot of involvement with volunteers.
There is. We need volunteers desperately to not only help in the shelter, but to help the administrative office. A big part of what our advocates do is transportation, so we're always looking for people to help us transport the families to appointments or housing appointments or doctor's appointments, or just to take them shopping or to a movie or anything like that.
Now, how would somebody get in touch with you who is interested in volunteering?
They can always contact us through our website, which is www.capecodshelter.org, or they can call the shelter hotline, which is 508-564-7233, which is actually safe, 7233, or they can call my office, which is 774-763-2222.
Yes, I wonder if we can get those numbers up. That would be very nice. And but you have a website that CapeCodShelter.org.
Yes.
That people can contact. So no one then needs to stay in a situation if she or he suspects that the relationship is getting dangerous. That there's help for them.
There is help, and there are other organizations on Cape Cod and the islands that we work with that provide community-based programs, which is invaluable. As I say, we can only house 4 families at a time. So everyone says, well, what happens to all of the other people that need shelter? And that's where it's so crucial that the other organizations work with us so that we can provide support for more people.
Right. When we're talking about a domestic violence, I understand that this does not affect only women.
That's true. Men can also be victims in both heterosexual and homosexual relationships. There's a lot of same-sex marriages, and just last week I believe there was a homicide somewhere in the Boston area between partners.
Yeah, really. And so the future for a survivor of domestic violence can look very bright. One need not give up hope.
It can. In fact, we have a survivor who is going to be speaking at an upcoming event that we have, who actually has gone on, and she has a fabulous job. She is helping now. She's volunteering back with us.
Great.
So, there is a lot of hope out there, and when we do everything in our power so that these women and children can move on with their lives and have happy, successful lives.
Good. Now, what has the legal system done? Is there some support that you get from the legislature?
There is. In fact, there was new legislation recently passed that if anyone is a victim of domestic violence, right now their employer has to give them 2 weeks paid time off if they're going through a domestic violence situation, which is it's huge because those first couple of weeks are the most crucial, and that's when many times the families need to go into a high-risk, secure location. That's the most critical time for the advocates to start working with them because your first couple of nights when you're not at home and when you're on your own and you're in a strange, scary place, your first intuition is, well, I'll go back. And so if you're in a place like our shelter, you've got our advocates working with you, trying to take the fear out of this and giving you the confidence to not go back.
Right. I can see that legislation would be so important because how would one be able to then go into work the next day, which if one wanted to really leave and not be found. So that gives that individual an important break.
It does, and we work closely with all of the police departments and the district attorney's office here on Cape Cod and the sheriff's department. And, you know, they are all very tuned into domestic violence. There is a civilian domestic violence advocate that works at the Falmouth Police Department, and she is very, very helpful.
Now, I understand that Michael O'Keefe, who is the district attorney, has done quite a lot of work to support the cause.
Yes, he has. In fact, his office oversees the high-risk program on Cape Cod and the islands, and that's a program that we're very interested in enhancing. So part of our strategic plan is looking to purchase a larger home. We would like to have 10 bedrooms so that we can provide more rooms for more people, but we also want to have rooms specifically reserved just for women and children on Cape Cod and the islands that need this high-risk room.
Well, can you explain a little bit more about why it's called high risk? Is that there are levels of risk in domestic violence?
There are. The high-risk program was actually designed after a program that was started at the Jeannie Geiger Center, which was in Newburyport, Massachusetts. They had had a homicide in their community. And so the Jeannie Geiger Center formed this model that was actually adopted all across the country. And we do have it here on Cape Cod, where a batterer will be identified by the police and by the district attorney's office. And you know, this is usually after several instances of domestic violence, so they know that, say, the woman is in severe danger of being murdered. And so the district attorney's office and the police will work together with the courts, and they more or less offer a deal to the batterer. He's fitted with an ankle bracelet. He's given a specific distance that he needs to stay away. And what this does is it allows usually the mother and the children to remain in their homes, in their community. If she has a job, she's able to stay in her job. The kids can stay in their schools. And yet the batterer, the husband, can still stay working so that everyone's economic doesn't collapse.
I see.
And if he violates the distance, then he goes to jail. So the crucial time with this is during these 2 weeks, during the high-risk area, is, you know, a lot of times the husband may be on the run, so it takes time for law enforcement to find him. It also takes time for the houses. A lot of times we have to have new security systems put in, locks changed on the doors, telephone numbers changed. So it takes these few weeks for this to be done. So if we have these high-risk rooms here on Cape Cod, we can keep the families here.
Well, that's very essential. I can see now that society, the legal system, and perhaps our culture is becoming attuned to what goes on when we just use the term domestic violence. There are degrees and there are situations that need to be handled differently. They're not all the same.
That's very true. There are, you know, and I think especially with all of the publicity that has come out from the NFL, more people are willing to talk about it. I think for many years it was the dirty secret that everybody had somebody in their family, whether it be an aunt or a sister or whoever, that you kind of knew there was something going on, but now people are much more open to talking about it, and I think they're much more open to asking for assistance with it.
Yes, yes, that's really, really critical. So what's on your wish list for the Center for Women?
We have a huge wish list. The first one, of course, is to get a bigger building so that we can house more families. You know, we need to be able to provide more support, and especially to women and children here on Cape Cod and the islands. A lot of people will say to me, well, you don't have domestic violence on the Cape. Everyone has a white picket fence and a beautiful beach. And, you know, we probably have as much as anybody has. The numbers are truly staggering. So our wish list is, you know, the bigger house. We always need items in the house. You know, there's just, think of how you operate your household, and then imagine us operating a household with 4 families.
Oh, dear.
24 hours a day,
Right,
so
right.
it's just 4 times everything,
Yes.
and
You
hoping
need space.
we need space. You know, we need a lot of space.
Now, tell us something about the funding for the shelter.
Well, we're funded through the Department of Children and Families. We get 41% of our funding from them, and the rest of it we get through fundraisers, through grants, and from private donations.
Now, you have a party coming up.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. It's called the Jeans and Jewels Jubilee. It will be March 14th at the Seacrest Resort in North Falmouth. And we like to say it's a gala, but it's not really a gala because instead of black tie and long gowns, we say it's Cape Cod chic. You can wear blue jeans, you can wear gowns, you can wear basically whatever you want. We just say bling it up because it's going to be a great party. We have the Ad Hoc All-Stars playing. They're a band from, all the band members are from all across the country. So there's going to be a lot of dancing. We will have a live auction and a silent auction. We are honoring District Attorney Michael O'Keefe with the Beacon of Hope Award.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Has that Beacon of Hope Award been a new award, or has that been traditional?
This is a brand new award. We decided that we wanted to thank him for all of the work that he has done to support domestic violence and the programs that he's instituted. And we thought it would be fitting. Our motto is a beacon of hope.
Yes.
So we came up with the Beacon of Hope Award, and we just thought that for our very first honoree, it was just fitting to give this to D.A. O'Keefe.
It certainly is. That's perfect. My own invitation talked about bling, and that got me interested in that term as a fashion term. So I did a little research, and I'm really not sure what it just means. Dress up any way you like.
It does, absolutely.
Right.
And like we say, you know, you just come and be comfortable. The main thing is just to come, have fun, and celebrate with us.
Yes, and it's very nice that that the notion that domestic violence does not need to be something that anyone should suffer by. That there is hope. That there is help out there for anyone who feels as if he or she is under that kind of pressure.
Absolutely, and I think the key point is never be ashamed. You know, if you are a victim of domestic violence, you are the victim. You didn't cause it. You didn't ask for it. You are the victim. So reach out and get help.
Yes, that it's not your fault.
Right.
That is right. That's really crucial. What sort of advice would we or tips would you give to, say, a young woman or a young man who is entering a relationship? Are there any road signs that somebody should be aware of, or things to consider before becoming very involved?
I think some of the warning signs are isolation, wanting to know where your partner is every minute of the day. At first, you know, you think it's the attention. But the more you look at it, you see that it really is all about the power and control.
Right. Maybe it's important for somebody to observe how that individual behaves with other people as well, or is interested in not isolating the partner.
Absolutely. I mean, if it's a loving, healthy relationship, your partner should want to be included or have you included with your family and your friends. You know, you should all want to be together. I mean, granted, there's alone time. But, you know, when they start isolating you and turning you against your family and your friends and your activities and things that you like to do, those are all warning signs. And sometimes your friends may pick up on it before you do. And I would just say, listen to that. You know, if you have concerns and if you're not comfortable talking to your family, talk to your guidance counselors or your teachers at school. Just reach out. Don't keep this in.
Yes, as people more and more becoming aware of this, it's it's very, very public, I think that perhaps young people will be a little more sensitive to or aware of a partner's behavior. And I wonder if this culture needs to change as well. And we are seeing signs of that change. That is to say, understanding that a woman should not be under anyone's control, or a man should not be under another person's control.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I think everyone needs to have their own self-confidence and self-esteem, and if someone tries to take that away from you, that definitely is a warning flag.
I would encourage viewers to check your website to get more information about the Cape Cod Center for Women, and to certainly notify, connect with you if they feel as if they need help. This has been so interesting, and I'm so glad that you came and that we had this conversation. Certainly that is a very important topic. I hope that your wishes come true and that your strategic plan materializes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being with us. And thank you very much for viewing. We'll see you next time on Conversations. Thank you.